Nico. All right, who's Nico? Nico is a franchisee in the DC area. It's actually in Manassas, Virginia. And I can still remember when we first met, Nico. You know,
Absolutely.
you had a really successful career in the car repair business, and you walked into our office and was as humble as it gets, and just never owned a business before, but had done well in business and other ways and managing people and so on. And let's face it, had made a lot of money too. And so, you were a little nervous, a little fearful of what the next frontier may be, but you wanted to take a chance on us, and that meant a lot to me at the time because anytime somebody wants to start a business, that's a pretty big deal. But someone that wants to completely go in a different direction than what you were in was
Mhm.
even bigger deal for me, and I appreciate the trust you gave us. Um, Nico has an interesting story that we'll get into here in a little bit, and I can't wait to share more about it with you. But Nico, why don't we talk about what you were doing? I kind of teased it a little bit, but talk about what you were doing before you became a franchisee in our network.
Absolutely, absolutely. So I was an auto technician and mechanic, I was in the automotive industry for 19 years. And 19 years of doing that, it was very physical, very mentally and emotionally draining and all of that. But I did really well. I was very fortunate to be at a location where, business was really good. This particular repair shop started in 1969. So they already had their clientele established. And at that point, it's easy to make money, and my brother was, that's where I started. That was my first job as an oil changer. That was my first job at that very same repair shop. And that's what got me interested in the repair business, and then of course, I met my wife at the time and I was very young. So I needed to do something, for a living, and I just kind of like evolved from being an oil changer to showing more interest in working on cars, and, it grew from there. And I did that for very successfully for 19 years. And watching someone retire from the industry made me realize that I couldn't do that forever. And that's when I started doing all my research. What am I going to do? And and just I was done with the automotive industry. I couldn't do it forever. And just to mention them up, it was very similar to what I did. In many ways. It's completely a different job business, but it was very similar. You bring a car, we work on it, we fix it, we give it back, happy customer. We go to a house, we clean a really dirty house, we're done, happy customers, and they pay you the same day. Same thing with a car. You go to the next car, you go to the next house. It was very similar. And working on cars, I was getting paid on commission. So, to mention them up, you get paid on commission. So it was so similar in many ways. The whole pay for performance, it was similar to the way I was getting paid at the time too. So, it just made sense, to do this, and just getting to know everyone, it just made
Well,
sense. It was a no-brainer for me.
Nico is an easy guy to like. And we've spent a lot of just personal time, social time together at the different events that we've had. Prior to the pandemic, we could meet and
Yes.
hang together. And everyone in the home office has always loved Nico. He's just an easy person to like. But the truth is, early on, you experienced some growing pains.
Oh, absolutely.
The ramp
Absolutely.
the ramp right out of the gate was not as fast as either of us had hoped. We'll get to the good news here in a minute, but it was a tough start. So why don't you talk to everyone and just explain what some of those headaches were and some of the stress that you went through during those early months?
Absolutely. So, the one thing, people can tell already from the get-go that I have an accent, but most people cannot tell what kind of accent I have. So they're like, where are you from? I hear an accent. Where's it from? Where's it coming from? And I speak Spanish. So that was another thing, that kind of like drew me to the industry, because in this area, the Spanish population, it's huge as far as, it's cleaning businesses, painting houses, or doing your lawn care service. Chances are it's going to be a Hispanic person doing it. So to me as well, doing this for a living, I was like, I speak Spanish. The ladies that clean the houses, most of them at least, they speak Spanish. It's a no-brainer. But what I didn't know when I got into the business is, Spanish lady wants to clean a lot of houses. And when you're getting first, when you first getting started and doing this, you're not going to get a lot of houses for them to clean. It takes a while to build that clientele. And so that was my biggest misconception, or my naive way of coming into this industry, was just not knowing exactly how it was going to go. But just like, when you first open it, when I first opened a franchise, I was doing like 3 to 4 to 5 houses a week. When these ladies are used to doing 5 to 6 houses a day, So it was hard to employ those people. So for a while, I just went through a huge turnover of employees, or trying to find the right employee, or someone that will stick around, or believe in the dream as much as I did. It took a while. So finding someone to love it as much as I did was, hard at first. But once you find that one person, all it takes is one person. You, Ron, you can probably attest to this, that, when you found Colleen, she believed in it as much as you did, and she's still with you.
Right.
So I found that one person that loved it as much as I did, and saw the dream as, as big as I saw it. And that one person changed my whole perspective, the whole way of running the business in itself. That one PhD changed the whole outlook and everything. And she helped me, recruit more PhDs that believed in the dream as well. So, but it was really hard at first, for sure. Just finding the clientele, finding the employees, it was hard.
So you had a tough start. You probably, let's just face it, invested a little bit more money than you expected early on.
Absolutely.
There were some scary days, but here's the great news. Here's the best news of all. You're breaking records now. You're at the top of all the rankings, and you're still growing. Still got a lot in front of you. But it's been, even in the face of probably the worst year we could ever expect it when it comes to the business economic climate, you've figured out a way to thrive and grow.
Yes.
So you talk about one person. What happened this year that didn't happen last year, but beyond the obvious with the pandemic? What's the difference?
The difference was just, just finding, once you get that one person, then you need two, and then you need three, and then you need four. So finding, I started acting more like a business owner. That was the biggest difference, to be honest. Because at first, I felt like, if I understand what they're going through, if I try to help them every way I can, whether it's financially or any way I can, just like in the end, you can tell that who's going to work out, who's not going to work out. But some people, they just tend to take advantage of it. They take advantage of you. And in the end, it hurts you business-wise. So weeding out the bad apples from the get-go is what was the biggest change for me. Just acting like a business owner more than acting like a brother or a sister, that was the biggest change. Like, this is a business, let's treat it like a business. No more messing around. It's just like, we need to hit some numbers. We need to do things properly. Here's, everything that I need to do. And the beauty about a franchise is, everything's already figured out for you. You just got to do everything that's like how they tell you, for the most part, 100% of the time.
So it's December 9th, 2020.
Yes.
What are you doing today differently than you were doing December 9th, 2019?
Oh man, so much, probably everything. So
just day in the life stuff. Like, what was the day in the life a year ago compared to now?
Well, right now I'm a lot busier with networking groups, believe it or not. So like, even though we're on Zoom calls, before, of course you can't do it in person anymore as much. But networking groups have been huge, and I have started like rubbing elbows with a lot of the biggest real estate agents. Eventually, I got to that point. And real estate agents right now are saving my butt. That's where I get most of my business right now. Although, most of them are like, one-time cleanings, but we've been able to turn some of those one-time cleanings into recurring customers, which is rubbing elbows with some of the biggest real estate agents in the area. It's been huge for me. So, I'm not going to name drop because it means nothing to you guys because you're not in the area. But, some of those names are pretty big in the area. And, once you get one, and now we're personally cleaning one of the biggest real estate agents, her own house. And that was hard to do, to get in there. I was like, just give us a chance. And, for a year and a half, she ignored us, because who are you or whatever. And then eventually we cleaned one house for her, and then another one, and then another one. And then I got really close with her personal assistant as far as, responding right away to her messages, to her emails, even though sometimes it's like 10 p.m. She sends me a message. And she's like, hey, Nico, this lady changed her mind. She wants to go this day instead of this day. And I always make it work for her, like no matter what time it is. And just being really close with her personal assistant, the one that handles all the scheduling of all the houses, has been huge for us. So networking groups and just even those groups on Facebook and everything, finding the big community groups, I spend a lot of time just on community groups as well, just growing the business. I'm not as much on the field anymore, I still do my quality checks and everything, but networking groups and just, getting close to those people was the biggest change for me.
So I remember when you came into the network, for those of you that just kind of joined, didn't hear all of Nico's early story. Nico managed a auto repair company. It was I don't know how many, but a large number of mechanics who are all, I'm assuming, male employees.
Yeah.
I'm assuming that most, if not all, of your current employees are female. What was that
100%
transformation like?
off.
How does managing men differ from managing the females?
Oh, it's completely different, and that's where Cheryl comes in, my manager, my store manager. Like sometimes, we joke around, when it gets to a point where the ladies, they get too comfortable sometimes with her, and they start like venting a lot more than the usual. And that's when I go to her, it's like, Cheryl, I miss the guys so much. We just did our job and that was it. But there's just a lot of, emotional thing attached to it. So it's completely different. It's 100% different. But Cheryl, my store manager, that's where she comes in, and she's my right hand lady, and she's been amazing, So having her has been huge as part of the growth, because I always tell them, and I joke about this, but the ladies, they love her. They kind of like me, but they love her. So that's huge, and that's okay, because we can play the good cop, bad cop when it comes down to it, So it works. But managing ladies is completely different, 100%.
All right. What about the other side of it with the customers? You're a man. Most of your customers are females as well. So
Absolutely.
What type of shocks to the system was that for you, and how did you deal with it?
Oh, I mean, it was crazy to me at first, when I would go to do the in-home estimates, how taken aback some of them will be. They open the door and they see me on the other side of the door, and they will be a little taken aback. They were like, I thought I was emailing to some lady. Her name is Nico. But no, that lady, this Nico, it's me. It's a guy. But, they always are like, is there supposed to be two mates? Like, that's the name of the company. Yeah. But it's just like, but then, you get to talk to them and they warm up to you. You just, once they get to know you a little bit, that's all they want to know. They just want to be heard. They want to be understood. And then you just listen to their what they want done at their house, what they're looking for. But I mean, it was definitely difficult at first. And right now, like I said, Cheryl, she's the one doing most of that as well now. So I just focus more on the business these days.
Got it.
It's growing it and everything. But
yeah,
all right.
I'm going to give you a question, and then I'm going to let Kenny and Eric ask a few questions as well. So this one's just be as transparent as you want to be here. What was the most negative surprise that you didn't expect in the business, but also what was the most positive surprise that you didn't expect inside the business?
Well, the most negative surprise was just the high turnover of employees, at least for the first year. Because I came from an industry where, of course, when we get an employee, he'll be with us for, a year or two or three or four. Some of them will be there for 10 years. So I just figured that I would hire a certain amount of ladies, at first, and they will be with me for at least, 6 months to a year. But it was just crazy how fast they were just going around through this revolving door. So that was one of the negatives that I noticed from the get-go, or how much they just don't show up to interviews. Which is just crazy to me. It's like they have no responsibility. They don't care about the reputation, none of it. I just couldn't understand. I couldn't grasp it. And sometimes I would get offended. I was like, something I said, like something I did. I mean, I don't know what it is. But the positives that I found is like, once you find the one, because it takes about 10 or 15 or so that I go through at least to find one good one. But that person, she cares so much and she matters so much to your business. And she will do anything and everything to keep your business going because they see the bigger picture. So as much as we talk about, social networks and millennials and this and that, there's still people out there that do care about everything, So it's good to see that we're not alone, the ones that care. But my biggest positive is like just finding good people out there and people that you can relate to, them having a dream as well, and then just trying to contribute to your own dream. And they all just dream together, I guess.
Well said. All right. So Kenny and Eric are here. Kenny, you want to quickly introduce yourself? And then I shouldn't put you on the spot. You may not have a question. Do you have a question?
Listen, no, it's no problem at all. I always will muster up a question.
Okay.
Yes. It's nice to meet you guys. Wink, how's it going, buddy? Yeah, I'm Kenny. I'm currently living in Connecticut, but I'm looking to open a store down in North Carolina, down there in the Raleigh, Durham area. But I do want to ask you a question.
I hope you like basketball, Kenny.
Oh, I love basketball. I'm a football guy, but I love basketball. More of a. I like the Tar Heels more
There you
so than the Blue Devils. I go, but because Durham is Blue Devils, I believe.
That's
I think
correct.
that's Duke. Yeah,
Yep.
that's Duke. I'm more of a Tar Heel guy.
You want to hear a fun story real quick, Kenny? I'm getting us off topic here, but I gotta share it. So we had
Sure.
a franchisee in Raleigh who is a big Duke fan, goes to all the
Mhm.
Duke football, basketball games or whatever. And
Mhm.
so I visit and we're like just talking shop. And I said, man, I've never been in Cameron Indoor Stadium, which is Duke's home arena.
Mhm.
And he's like, well, let's go. I was like, "What is
Mhm.
it's Tuesday at 2:00? What are you talking about?" He's
Mhm.
like, it's always open." And so we
Mhm.
go, we walk down. Sure enough, the doors are open. We just keep
Mhm.
going all the way down. There's basketballs on the court. He starts shooting
Yeah.
baskets, and I'm like, "What is going
Wow.
on here?" And
Wow.
about that time, the Duke women's basketball team showed up and
Mhm.
pushed us off the court. But for 15
Oh
minutes,
wow.
I shot hoops in Cameron Indoor Stadium. So,
Wow. Wonderful. That's beautiful.
sorry,
That's beautiful.
way off
And
topic.
actually, yeah. No. That's awesome. That's awesome. So well, Nico, congratulations. I'm glad that things are going well for you.
Thank
Um,
you.
But I did want to ask you, you spoke about the employees, kind of like the revolving door that surprised you. How did you actually deal with that though? I mean, how did you combat that? What did you do to keep yourself going? Because I'm not certain, at this time when the employees were recurring, did you have jobs out there that like, wow, it's hard for me to fulfill them because I don't have the staff? I mean, how did you deal with that?
That's a great question, actually. So, you will hear a lot, and not just from me, but from everyone in here that, they always be interviewing, interview, just interview at all times, always have someone that is due for an interview even the next day, even if you don't need them, just interview them because you don't know when you're going to need them or you're not going to need them. But, so, of course, for I would say the first 6 months were the toughest ones. And I spent a lot of time out there cleaning myself, and it's something that it just comes with the territory. I mean, Ron was out there cleaning himself too for a while, believe it or not. So, it just comes with the territory, it's part of the business. So I would say there was about 3 times that I can remember that I had to go clean by myself, but, I got it done, and just give good quality. And then you get those customers. So basically, you do what you have to do to make the dream happen, man. So that's what I had to do. And I felt like I had no option in it. So if I want to make this happen, I got to start somewhere. So I just did it. And then, of course, with help, it was a lot better. But, for a while, it was just me and a PHC, just doing it. And then that one PHC turned into 2 PHC and then into 3. And then when it was into 3, then I was part of that team as well. So there was 2 teams and I was part of 1 team. And I did it for, as long as I had to do it because it didn't matter to me. Because I knew eventually it will get to this point.
Right.
So you just got to get through it, It's just I didn't question it. I just did it because I just knew that if you just keep going, you get to wherever you need to get to. So you just interview all the time, and you'll get there.
Okay, wonderful, great stuff.
All right, well, good question, Kenny. And just to kind of add on to Nico's comments there, Nico's on the ground, and so he's living it. But I talk to a lot of franchisees all the time, and this is it's turnover is a real thing in every industry, but certainly an industry like ours. And so what we've done to combat some of those things, one, I think that whether it's your best friend, your spouse or partner, or an employee, or a customer for that matter, I think it's important that we all can create a relationship. When you hire someone to clean, Nico's talking about it. Nico knows his people really well. He cares about them. They care about him. They have a mutual respect between one another. And so when stuff goes down, when Nico makes a mistake or when even one of his employees makes a mistake, it's not termination time. Early on, I don't know if we were quite there, and so it was probably more transactional than relational. So I know it's sort of a high level answer to say just create relationships versus transactions, but that's the answer really. People want purpose. That's the reason you guys are looking at this franchise opportunity. I'm guessing you're probably missing something somewhere, and this business can help fill that void and create purpose for your life, for your family. People who work for you have those same dreams and aspirations, so if you can build purpose into their jobs, then it's going to make life a lot easier for you, and it's going to make everyone feel good too on top of that.
Absolutely. And I'm sorry, Nico, I just want to touch on one other thing, if you don't mind.
Oh, absolutely.
Sure. So today versus a year ago or when you first started, the hours. What are your typical days like now? Are they is it extended amount of hours today
Uh,
versus last year? Like how was that? What's the difference?
It's a great question, actually, Kenny. So the answer is like this: less hour for me right now, to be honest. I don't spend as much time at the office anymore because I get to work on the business now. I get to focus on the business, but I certainly don't spend any time in the field anymore. If I do is once a month, it is because I want to. I personally like doing move outs. So when there's a big move out to do, I go help because I just like doing them. So but you don't have to, of course. I just do it because I want to. And for them to see you out there with them too, it does something to them. We're like, oh man, he's still out here with us. That's why I work for him because he wants to do it as much as we do. So that's why I like working for him or with him in this case. So it does something to them. And for them to they talk amongst themselves like that. I still go and clean with them. Even when a new employee comes in, it's like, oh, he still go cleans with us. Just don't think that he just because he sits behind a desk right now, he's just all he wants to do. That's what he does. So, it helps the culture, and culture is huge as far as the business goes too, because it makes everyone want to come into work. There's plenty of times where, me as an employee, I would wake up and I worked at a shop that I don't like the culture in itself. You just don't want to go to work and you just don't put out good quality either. So culture is huge as well. So it helps with the culture, helps me mentally and physically. But the hours, as far as the business goes, I don't spend as much time just, being on the business. Of course, you think about the business 24/7, but it's not as tiring as it used to be when I first started. So right now, it's easier and there's more of a core going on here. So it's a lot easier to go with this rather than just like trying to figure stuff out at all times. Does that make sense?
No, it does. Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, Eric, I'm now going to put you on the spot. If you have a question, fire away.
Hi, Nico, Ron, and Kenny. Pleasure to meet you all. So I'm Eric. I'm in northern New Jersey, right across the river from New York City. And I've been speaking to Wink now for probably 6 weeks, maybe a touch longer. And I'm still really interested in what's going on. So I guess my questions for you, Nico, is one, when people are rating the people that are cleaning or your staff, do they become discouraged when they are rated a 1 or a 2, or does that even happen? Like, does that exacerbate the staff turnover?
No, actually, no. I mean, because usually the team that gets a bad rating is the team that gets too comfortable. And sometimes they need that little kick in the butt to get back into shape again. And, the one thing that we try to emphasize here with me and my manager, Cheryl, is that we're not mad at you where you didn't mess up. This is just constructive criticism. Just don't do, you're not in trouble, but you got to listen to this review. You got to read what the customer said and why you got this. And it just opens their eyes to like, oh crap, oh, I did forget that. I was like, oh man, but I was just having a bad day. But it just like kicks them back into gear into doing a good job again for you. That's one of the greatest things that I think pay for performance is. And customers do appreciate it, and they do follow up a lot, especially these days, the more we do them. But no, it's just, they don't take it back. We don't fire those people. It's constructive criticism. And that's all it is, to just keep ourselves on our toes. That's all it is.
Okay. Thank you. And then when you got started, how instrumental was Two Maids to getting you up and going and getting you through your rough patches? Like, can you give some specific examples of how they kind of held your hand and made the, I guess, oiled the wheels or greased the wheels, if you will?
Yeah, and that's a great question, Eric. So the one thing that I tell, most of the validation calls as well too, it's just like, don't be afraid to ask for help. That was one of my biggest mistakes at first when I opened up. I thought I was bothering people. I thought that, when I got into the business, I should have done more research myself and know this and know that and not know this and not know that. But it's just, don't be afraid to even like reach out to other franchisees. You'd be surprised how much they want to see you do well, which was crazy to me. It's like, I never met most of these people. You call anyone, even like here to Washington State, I'm all the way on the East Coast, and call someone all the way on the West Coast and never talked to them, never met them, but they've been in your shoes and they know exactly how to get you out of it, out of the situation, or out of the issue that you have. So the one biggest advice that I have is like, don't be afraid to ask for help, even with the home office or any other franchisees. Just like they've been huge. And when I started asking for help is when things started going better, way better. Got better advice because they've been there. They knew what to do. They, had great recommendations and all of that. So just don't be afraid to ask for help, whether it's home office or other franchisees, because anyone is more than willing to help you out. And like I said, you'd be surprised how much they want to see you do well.
Thanks for that. And then last but not least, what differentiates Two Maids? So if people are calling and they move in, let's say they want to get a bunch of quotes for cleaning, why are people picking Two Maids instead of Molly Maids or one of the 15 different services that operates around me?
Honestly, that pay for performance. And you got to mention it every single time that you talk to anyone on the phone. And they're going to be like, yeah, but that's just for your mates. Yeah, but it keeps us talking to each other at all times. That constant line of communication with the customer is huge, which most of the customers don't have that commodity with other cleaning companies. Other cleaning companies, you start them out, they get you on the hook and that's it. You never hear from them ever again. But with us, with the pay for performance and the constant rating of the cleanings, you're talking and dealing with them at all times. You get to know these people like on a first name basis. You get to know their families as well. It's like I'm about to turn 2 here next week, and I have quite a few customers that I know really well. And and just to have that relationship with them is huge. Like Ron was saying earlier, like building those relationships is huge. Like when I talk with, say we have a bad rating, I never say, oh, we messed up, but we'll take care of it. I always make sure that I name those 2 people. I'll go, well, I'll talk to Kat and Jamie to make sure to see what's going on. But that puts a face to the cleaner, just building that relationship. If you just say, 2 maids and a month, it was just a company. But if you put a name in each person that goes to that house, then it's people, then they feel better about firing people.
Sure.
They'll fire a company like that. But it's hard to fire a person as a customer. And, so I feel like relationships is huge. And when it comes to that, so.
Are you getting on the phone?
It's huge.
Yeah. Are you getting on the phone with all these customers, or is it text message or email or a combination of all 3, or what?
It's a combination of all 3. Some people prefer text messages. Some people prefer emails to this day. And a lot of people just call you all the time, but not for bad things, good things mostly. But, it's all up to the person really, but we use all 3 means, to be honest. Or sometimes when we do the estimate, we get to know them personally, and then we have a face to everyone, and it's a lot easier. But when we do those quality checks, we get to meet the owner of the home, and then we get to build those relationships, so it's hard for them to fire you when they know you personally. So we always feel like it's key to make that, those connections with the customer as owner and manager.
Thank you.
Yep.
Eric, I told Kenny, I hope he's a basketball fan. I hope you're not a Jets fan.
The Meadowlands, I rode my bike to the Super Bowl a few years ago, because it was right there, and parking was like hundreds of dollars, right? So it's interesting. I'm a big college football fan. I'm a Michigan guy, which is a whole nother story in itself.
It's a whole nother story.
I'm glad that Ohio State game got canceled. I have season tickets. I get up there a lot, but
you want him in or out?
I thought he was the savior, but right now I'm on the fence. I think I want him out. Yeah. But we'll see. We'll see. It's getting bad up there. It's getting bad up there. But yeah, I'm really happy that Ohio State game got canceled. The spread was 30, and everyone's like, it's going to be 60.
Yeah. Well, it's fun talking to you guys, Nico. I mean, I can't say enough how proud I am of you. You guys don't know how hard Nico worked. He's so humble, and he doesn't talk about those early days, but it was a struggle for him early on, both mentally and physically. And it was complete, 180 from what he was used to. And, there were some times we had some tough conversations about, did I make the right decision, Ron? And so to see the kind of success you're having now, to see the life transformation you're having, and the fact that you can own your day instead of the day owning you, I can't be more proud of you, man. So
thanks, sir.
Congrats on all the hard work and success that you've had lately. All right. So cool.
Ron,
thanks for your time, guys. And I hope we get to talk again down the road. Yeah, Kenny, you were going to. Yeah.
No, I'm just saying, likewise, I'm just saying good, congratulations to you, Nico. And I appreciate the time that you guys allow me.
Appreciate it.
Yes.
Ron, a quick question for you, if you don't mind me asking.
Of course.
Do a lot of franchisees go through that early phase struggle of ramping up? I mean, is that typical?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, when you start a new business, it's not always, it's not always exponential growth from the onset, but is it common that there's like missteps and you got to figure it out and staffing goes awry, et cetera?
So there are certainly some examples of people who have just skyrocketed right out of the gate that we are still shocked by. We have one franchisee that's as quiet as any franchisee we have, so he'll probably never be on here to talk to you guys, but he is performing at a very high level. He's in the Phoenix area, and he's done nothing but grow from day one, and he's still doing it. However, the average franchisee does typically grow slow. Now, in our mind, it's according to how you define slow. We've never really figured out, even when we had corporate stores, we never really knew how to win the sprint. We feel very comfortable with the marathon. In fact, we know we're going to win the marathon, but we don't know if we're going to win the sprint. So some people shoot right out of the gate. Others probably have a little bit more pedestrian type of sprint to it. And so what we want people to do, we want Nico and every franchisee to do, we want you to just retain 2 recurring customers a week. It's really not even 2. It's really more like 1.5. And, when people hear that, they go, gosh, I can do that, because 2 times 52 is 100. 100 times 3 years is 300. If you've heard Wink, hopefully Wink's done his job and told you what that 300 number means. And so when you hear that, you're like, I can do that. But the reality is any hustler, any entrepreneur that has the fire inside of them is not very happy 2 weeks later when you have 4 recurring customers. So that's probably where most of the frustration comes into play. Is people go into it with a very patient mindset, but then once the execution begins, it's hard to be super patient, which is a great thing. We wouldn't want Nico to sit around and wait, and just take those 2 a week and be happy with it. We want people to push themselves and push us too.
All right. Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right. Well, thanks again, Nico. We'll see you around the block, hopefully outside of Zoom one day.
All right, man.